What's up, everybody? John Schumacher here with New Wave Healthcare, where business-minded professionals come to learn and be inspired. Today, my guest is Michael Bloom of Bloom Coaching and Performance. And Michael is an expert in the realm of caregiving, which is a unique topic that he's going to share a bit about today. He's also had a lot of success building his coaching business, building some momentum behind that coaching business in a relatively short period of time. So that's one of the things he's going to talk about today on this show is if you're a coach, if you're anybody who's looking to build a following behind you, Michael's had some really nice success with that, and we're really, really excited to hear that from him today. He's been featured on the Wall Street Journal, on Reuters, on Yahoo Finance, I think. He's been all over the place, and he's going to share some of this like ninja sauce, I guess you could call it, with us today, and really get us going and help you kind of paint a picture for yourself so that you can help get your following going, get your business going. So, Michael, my friend, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. Let's just have you tell us a little bit about your personal background, and then we'll jump into more about how you've created your business.
Sure. Well, John, it's a great pleasure to be here, and I'm so thrilled that you have this forum that you've put together to offer education and development to the wonderful world of healthcare professionals, because as we know, healthcare professionals are really the juice or the true ninja sauce that's out there that keeps the world going and keeps us healthy and keeps us safe. So it's great to be here tonight. In terms of my story, I actually have over 20 years experience in the health and human services field. I began working direct care over 20 years ago, serving individuals with autism, and have 2 decades of experience serving people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, from a direct care role up to a senior administrative role, and I've served people with disabilities and their families across the lifespan. This was the best thing I ever could have done for myself. And I do have an educational background too. I have a master's degree in psychology and a master's in social policy with a focus on aging and disability policy. And the knowledge is great to have from school background, but direct face-to-face, in the trenches contact is really the best experience you can get. And 4 years ago, I needed every bit of that experience to deal with the crisis that came to my family. In 2009, my dad was the primary caregiver for my mom, who at that time was a 5-year cancer survivor. She had stage 4B lymphoma, and at the age of 77 at that time, her oncologist thought the chemo would kill her before the cancer. So she was not certain if she wanted to go forward, but my mom had a wonderful attitude and said, let's do it. So my mom adopted that ninja sauce attitude when it came to her treatment and got through okay from the cancer standpoint, but it left her very physically frail, and she needed a lot of hands-on support. So my dad became the primary caregiver for her for a number of years. He was the more healthy of my parents. But one day in 2009, my mother called me up frantically. She said my dad was acting strangely. He would not get their breakfast and medication like he normally did every morning. He was very regimented, and she did not understand what was going on. So I lived 5 miles apart. I hopped in the car, I drove right over, and I was trying to think what could possibly be wrong, because the night before, my dad had said that he had called me and said he had gone food shopping and banking, had extra groceries for me, and he sounded totally normal. But when I got to the house and I went up to where he was sitting in his office, he was slumped over in his chair, and I thought that maybe he had a stroke. So I called 911, and the paramedics came, and we discovered he had a heart rate of 25. And when he was rushed to the hospital, he had a catastrophic heart failure event. They implanted a pacemaker, which stabilized the heart issue, the cardiac issue. But the event took place overnight, so he lost a lot of he had a lot of oxygen deprivation to the brain, and because of that, he ended up with vascular dementia. So from that point forward, he would need 24/7 care. So I, being an only child, with all of this professional caregiving experience, stepped in to be their full-time caregiver for both of my parents. And that was really a life-changing event to give me the perspective of what it was like to then be a family caregiver and advocate for people you care about. And in those initial months, it took every tool and strategy that I developed from my professional career to make it through that time. But the mistake that I made, as most caregivers make when they first get into the role, is they try to do it all. They don't want to burden anybody else. They try to be Superman or Superwoman. And in doing that, that's not a sustainable pathway. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, after that experience, and a number of months later, my dad ended up passing, and I moved in with my mom with the desire to keep her out of a nursing home, and decided to, at that time in 2011, to start a home-based consulting business, provided consulting to nonprofits. And at the same time, I decided to pursue coach training. So I became a certified professional life coach, which was very transformative. And in working through the life coach program, it not only helped me better serve others, but it helped me take better care of myself, to realize that I could provide myself with balance and pursue my own dreams while I cared for my mother. And that's the message I want to bring to the world of caregivers, is that it is possible to be a dedicated and loving caregiver to those you care for, and also give yourself a little life in the process.
Right, absolutely. So you were personally touched by this. You found your guys' calling or niche because you were personally impacted by family and felt that pain and felt that need and stepped into it and you're off to the races, huh?
Yeah, I often equate caregiving to jumping into a swimming pool. So when you approach a swimming pool, a lot of times we like to test or dip our toe in the water to make sure, especially if it's not a heated pool, that it's to our comfort level before we jump in. But when a crisis happens in the family and you have to step in as a caregiver, you can't test that pool of care. You've got to just jump in with both feet, and your life is never the same after, once you're in that pool of care.
Right, right. So you got personally touched by what was going on in your life, and then you decided to make this a career for yourself, and you've launched into this full steam. Like, what were the first things you had to do to kind of get that started for yourself?
Well, the first thing I did, and when I say full steam, I didn't really launch the business full steam because I was in the midst of caregiving. So I would say the first year and a half or so was more part-time because I was building my business, but my mom was my #1 priority after my dad passed, and doing everything to take care of her. But what I did was I spent a lot of time, I'd say half of my time while I was caring for my mom, I did a lot of education and development for myself and how to start a business, how to grow a following, how to grow a list, and really focused in what would my niche be. And from great training that I had taken, it really became clear that the niche I needed to focus on was, and who your ideal client is. And my ideal client is me. So when I started to think of my ideal client as me, or other people that were in the situation that I was, it became crystal clear to me how I needed to position myself and market myself to attract and magnetize other people like me who were struggling with caregiving, and how, again, to get a life for themselves. So that really is my passion. And, again, the greatest passion I have is just meeting so many people from around the world that are involved in caregiving or helping family members, travel through a really tough journey of medical crises. And, some of the most stressful situations that families ever deal with is when their loved one is in need from injury or medical crisis, or giving birth to a child with special needs. So I am really pleased to have this opportunity now to live my passion. And the other thing I would say too is, over the course of those number of years, and I don't say this to get sympathy, I lost 2 parents within a 3.5-year period. I'm an only child, and I lost 8 other people close to me to cancer. So I've lost 10 people in 4 years, and one was not far from my age. And when you see death, and I really have witnessed 4 people taking their last breaths, when you witness death, you realize there's nothing in this life that you can't accomplish if you set your mind to it. And so it really gives me a peace and the ability to be at ease that I am here for purpose. I'm going to appreciate each day, and I'm going to do each day what I want to do, irregardless of whether it's Monday through Friday or Saturday or Sunday. We talked a little bit before the call. I don't view weekends and weekdays anymore. I just do what I got to do on that day that makes me happy. I meet my responsibilities or my commitments to others, but I engage in other activities that fulfill me, whether they're development activities or being of service or just chillaxing. I'm okay with doing that too.
So one day at a time, basically. So
yes,
what does a single day in your life, especially, this is a show that kind of focuses on business and health, like, what does a typical day for you look like?
Well, it's actually changed dramatically in the last 6 weeks, because one of the things that I did accomplish this year as well, and I set a goal for 2013, was to write and publish my first book. So I was able to accomplish that goal, and so I have released The Accidental Caregiver Survival Guide, Your Roadmap to Caregiving Without Regret. It got released in mid-September. And ever since then, thanks to the great people that I've collaborated with in terms of Book Coach and some other marketing experts and mentors, I was able to launch my book, so it had a lot of buyers before it even came out. And now I'm actually getting called to do 3 to 5 interviews a week. In fact, I've had this is my second interview today. I've got 2 tomorrow. So I get to interact with great people like you. So in between interviews, I'm talking to clients, I'm writing articles, I'm getting to guest blog on other people's websites, I'm planning for the future, I'm educating myself about new ways to market and reach more people through social media platforms I don't currently know about and or am not expert at. So I seek knowledge from others and the expertise from others, and I gladly invest in them and myself to better my position going forward. So that's really what my days look like.
And how were you able to launch a book with that much success? I mean, did you have a large following before you did that? I mean, so many of us, launch a product and hear crickets. I mean, how did you pull that off?
Well, I saw it, once I got most of the book written over last winter and into the spring, and I had the content, and I encourage everybody who's out there, each and every one of you that is listening has a unique message that you can bring to the world. And the book is such a wonderful and fabulous way to do it for a few reasons. One, it builds your credibility in your field, A. But second of all, as you're writing your book, you're developing all kinds of content that you can repurpose and use in so many formats. So before the book was completely done, I actually sought speaking engagements at conferences or support groups that others would want to hear the message that I was providing, because I am a walk the talk caregiver. So I think that attracts a lot of people to bring me in. And by doing that, I prepared them. I made bookmarks, and I created a book website that was live for several months before the book actually came out, which is the accidentalcaregiversurvivalguide.com. And when people went to the website, they could actually download preview chapters because the first few chapters were done. So I had, before the book even launched, I already had 80 people that had downloaded those preview chapters, and I know the majority of those 80 people were buyers and actually were instant buyers when the book came out. And I was blessed with 4 figures in book sales in the first 2 weeks of my launch. Wow. And it just keeps growing from there. So again, it's a multifaceted strategy to do this and trying to link everything together, but it really is possible. It really is possible, and just have fun along the way. And the book is serving as a great vehicle for me for other things that I do now and content that I want to develop in the future and take people to at a deeper level. It's just done so much to frame things very clearly in my mind.
Yeah. How were you able to get that initial 80 people to get to your, I guess you could call it a pre-launch book page? How did you do that? Did you use social media? Did you do advertising? Like, how did you pull that off?
I have a list, and so one of the other things that I started at the advice of one of my great mentors over a year ago was I started not publishing your typical e-newsletter, because e-newsletters, there's so many of them, and people don't, when they come to your site, they don't want to just sign up for a newsletter, they want value. So one of the things that I created was publishing weekly. It's called Energizing Tips in Bloom, which gives family and professional caregivers practical strategies in nurturing each and every Tuesday to move forward with and keep their, to avoid burnout and keep their energy moving. Many of those strategies served as content for my eventual book, but between the people that I built on that following through speaking engagements and just word of mouth, I was able to get hundreds of subscribers to join my email list, and between them and the others that opted into my book website to check out the preview chapters, I know that they were the initial book buyers, and the better thing yet is they're my greatest ambassadors. They're sharing the tips that I provide. I run into people all the time who don't know me by face, but when they now see me at a conference, they're like, I know who you are. One of my friends gets your tips email, and she loves it. She forwards it to me. How did you get that started? So this ends up being a conversation that even I just had last week at an Alzheimer's conference here in Massachusetts with somebody I did not know directly. And it's just so great and flattering, and it's just a great way to form a relationship.
Right. So what would you give for advice to anybody who, say they have a digital product, let's say they're a healthcare professional who wants to launch their first online course or their first 3-part video series or their first ebook, whatever, what is the first step they should do to, if let's say they have no following or very little following, what would you recommend?
I would recommend that they find a great mentor or business coach or somebody to work with in the area that they have the desire to launch in, and really invest in themselves and getting that expertise. One of the greatest things that you can do, everybody always talks outsource, 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 and I'm a firm believer in outsourcing certain tasks that would drain you from the bigger vision. But at the same time, it's really key to get to know the certain strategies that can lead to an effective product launch. And there are some great experts out there that can certainly help with that. But the key is there are a lot of experts, and it's finding the expert in that area that has great content, delivers value, but that you resonate with, and that you're going to be encouraged to take action and follow through. And that's really key. Don't just sign up for for support and a program just to have it. Do it. Implement it. And I think one of the greatest things is I've taken programs from a number of different people and picked up expertise, and I tend to move into this like sort of nice student status or favored student status, not because I'm trying to stand out from anybody, but just because I want to take action. I've invested my money in what they have to offer, and I'm going to take it to the maximum level I can take it to. So, and have fun along the way. And the best thing you can do with that too, I'll tell you, is when you actually excel at a program that you participate in, you become an instant testimonial, because the expert that's sharing their knowledge wants you to be their success story, wants everyone that takes their course to be their success story. So when they share the knowledge and and share and broadcast to the world that you've taken their program and you've had these wonderful results, they become your ambassadors as well, and that adds more people to your list. So it's been a great, it's just been great, and it's not been a strategy of mine. It's just something I naturally do.
Yeah. What? Because there's so many experts out there, man. I mean, my head spins when I get all these emails, and I sign up for everything. I sign up for all of this stuff, and I get my email box, and my head starts spinning like The Exorcist. But what if people are, say you're a health coach and you wanted to launch your first product, but you don't know how to market, you don't know how to package it? What are 2 subjects that you would recommend people focus on in the beginning? Because otherwise, your head blows up if you're trying to follow 5 experts and all these different topics. Can you speak to that at all?
Well, I want to say before you launch a product or a service, the most important thing to do is figure out what you're passionate about. What is the unique message that you can bring to the world? There's billions of people in this world, and many people are delivering similar types of products. So I think don't just think about the great product idea that's going to get you to go viral, because there are very few, Steve Jobs out there, right? But there are so many heart-centered, mission-driven people in health and human services that have a great message to share. So again, what are you passionate about? What can you do that will make it so you don't feel like you're working 7 days a week, but that you're living your passion and you're living in an inspired way? And when you know what that message is and what it is that you want to share, then you can start to focus on what the vehicle is to share it and how you will do it. So it's so important to do that. One of the primary things I think you can do in terms of taking care of that is really focus on your bio. One of the things that I learned, and I will share one of my premier mentors here for a moment, who's Nancy Juetten. And I believe in the resource list you have, Bye Boring Bio is one of the resources below. Yep. That I highly recommend. Bye Boring Bio really is a great thing to do to help you get crystal clear on how you're bringing your message in a brilliant way to the world that magnetizes people. And the reason that's so important is when people come to your website, one of the primary things that people will look at is the About You page or the About Me page or the About Us page. I know that's something I do when I go. And most people tend to position themselves as a fitness expert or, a holistic practitioner or as, some feel-good person, that's out there to help. And those are all important, but how is that separating you from the rest? So really thinking about positioning yourself as an expert and crafting a bio that magnetizes people to want to work with you, because the bottom line is people will work with you not just because of the great product you deliver, but because they know, like, and trust you. And that bio is your first step to building that relationship.
Right.
So I highly recommend that as a resource to check out.
So, okay. Thanks. That's great. It's good information. And we do have Bye Bye Boring Bio linked below. And like I've not looked at it yet, but Michael, you've spoken to me about it a couple of times, so it sounds like a really important product. And copywriting in general is important, right? We don't think about that. And I just started learning about that this year a little bit. Is how do we write copy that actually gets people to want to read your stuff or want to engage you? I mean, even it's just that's just something people overlook a lot. So
Yeah, if I could add something else to
yeah.
that, it's just, when you become and the you want to become the expert in your passion. It's not about being an expert in the world. I'm the caregiving without regret expert because caregiving without regret is my passion. So let me explain that. Caregivers tend to have two major regrets when they're in the caregiving journey. One is regret for things that they may pass up on that in their own life. When I moved in to take care of my parents, I left my career and focused on them fully during that time. But if I kept doing that for years, imagine the financial sacrifice, the professional sacrifice that I would have made if I continued to do that for a long time. And there are so many caregivers that put their lives on hold or the back burner. And the idea of the messaging that I share and the practical strategies is it is truly possible to care for your loved one in a very highly dedicated, high quality way and still seek balance and do things in your own life to help you pursue your own personal and professional dreams and goals. The other area for regret is because caregivers are under so much understandable stress with all of the overwhelming responsibilities, exhaustion, round-the-clock care. Anybody who's served as a caregiver or witnessed a caregiver firsthand knows what I'm talking about. And when you're in that state of exhaustion and you're dealing, and John, I know you're in the field too, and you encounter a lot of elderly people. When you are caring for a loved one who's hurt or sick or frail, it's very stressful. And the loved one you care for is under a great deal of stress and almost depression with their declining functioning. You, as the caregiver, are stressed because you're trying to manage maybe more than one household and take care of yourself. So at times, as a caregiver, we may not always act in a way that we're proud of. Sometimes we may lash out in anger or have a slip because, as we know, anybody who has parents, who do you tend to be most comfortable with being your true self and lashing out with? Your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are sick and under stress and dealing with life and death situations, that could come out. So one of the greatest things that comes with regret is that at the end of the caregiving journey, if you said or done things and have not made amends, that you can carry a terrible burden of regret for many years afterwards. And one of the great stories I like to share is I have my own stresses that I dealt with in dealing with my mom. I'm a very overall, I'm pretty easygoing and mellow. It takes a lot to get me, let's say, into a place of real anger. I don't get there really very rarely. But at times when I was under stress and tired, my mom could get under my skin. And sometimes I said things that I wish I didn't say, but I made sure before I went to bed every night that I apologized. And do you know that 9 times out of 10 when that happened, she said to me, "I don't even know what you're apologizing for."
Yeah.
So if I had not made that effort to do that, I would have been stressing and having regret for things I said or done that she didn't even have any feeling towards, negative feeling towards. So people carry that. So again, the idea is to provide a message in your way. So as you can tell from how I'm describing this, I'm extremely passionate.
Yep.
I feel so privileged to be able to come on your show, go to other forums and conferences, have my book as a vehicle to share my message with the world and know that I'm helping others because there are so many caregivers out there that need our support.
Yeah, and you can just hear your passion when you speak about it. So that's just, that's your why, man. That's your fuel for pushing yourself forward, and you definitely have that, and it shows, and that's why you magnetize people to you. So thanks for that story. That was great. So what about speak about some of the challenges that you had briefly here when you got this idea and you're ready to start. You had a lot of passion behind it, but as many of us do, we hit some roadblocks launching what we're going to be doing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my roadblocks were really personal because, I had started launching some ideas, and then my mom went into a terminal phase in 2012, and so I had actually gone to a great event in San Francisco about 2 weeks before she went into a real downward spiral, and which was a major step for me because I had not gone away. And I highly encourage people go out to live events, take advantage of them periodically, network and meet new people and do that. And I had done that. And I met some great people there that I'm still working with today. But when I came back from that trip a couple weeks later, my mom went on a downward spiral, and then the cancer came back with a vengeance, and she unfortunately passed Mother's Day of 2012. So after taking several months off that summer to sort of recover and get through the immediate fog of grief, it was really last fall that I said that I'm going to come back at this with a real passion and determination. And then I made plans to take this one step at a time, learn from some of the best and the brightest, and just execute and do everything I can to build relationships with people. I don't have expectations that the people I contact are going to buy from me or engage with me in a coaching program right now. But I know that if I build the relationships with people, they will be my ambassadors, and they will purchase from me when they're ready, when the time is right for them. So I'm not invested in the outcome. So in terms of troubles, other than my personal woes, everything related to my business, I have no complaints. I have no regrets either. So I'm just loving every step of this journey and feel blessed.
So you had no fears or no hang-ups about, okay, are people going to accept my service or my products, or had you already built that kind of validation in before you launched?
Yeah, because I know the people that hire me get tremendous value, and the agencies that I've consulted with or have the privilege to come in and do paid motivational speaking engagements, I get tremendous feedback and testimonials, and that's the fuel to the engine for the next, for the next gig. Any dry spells that I had, there were dry spells last winter, but I made that a dry spell intentionally. I really focused on over a 60-day period that I was going to get my book mainly done, and I spent a cold winter, cold, snowy New England winter writing, day after day with I'm a chocoholic, so I had hot cocoa and the fire going, and I wrote, and I positioned myself for a couple months to do that. I still had a few clients I was working with, but that was okay, and I was comfortable. And again, just be comfortable with wherever you are, and don't, again, if you stay focused on your passion and seek knowledge and expertise where maybe you fall short with people that resonate with you, you will make amazing connections and you will accomplish great things. And that's really how I feel like I'm moving forward.
Right. Absolutely. That network of people, and I can just tell when I met you, you were just a giving guy and you're a friendly guy, and you're engaging and you keep at it and you're consistent. So, I mean, it's just, there's no doubt that you're building and magnetizing that audience to you. So it's just, it's wonderful to see, and I'm just very happy to have met you as well. So, talk to us a little bit about marketing. Like, talk to us about that. How do you've mentioned PR campaigns for me. You've mentioned a few other resources that you use to get the word out. Because then once you have it built, then you got to get the word out. So how do you do that?
Well, one of the primary things I learned from my mentor is, there's a few different ways that you can go about marketing. A successful tactic for me has been the power of the press release. So when I've had major tips that I've wanted to share, and actually the first press release I did was, just so you know, this is November, and November is National Family Caregivers Month. So a year ago, before I actually started writing the book, I was engaged in mentoring, and I actually produced my first, I wrote an article that was geared on providing caregivers with tips to avoid burnout and recharge their energy. And I ended up hiring somebody who's an expert at putting out press releases. And that first press release got picked up by over 400 media sites, including Yahoo Finance and others. And I now engage in press releases as a regular part of my strategy. I released a second one in advance of Mother's Day and Father's Day this year to help caregivers who are stressed in caring for aging parents, and how they can honor their parents during Mother's Day and Father's Day, and that got picked up by several hundred media sites. The best thing about this is when people Google me, they see my tips in those different publications that you talk about, Wall Street Journal Online, Reuters, Yahoo Finance, and all around the world. And I've actually had people contact me to either have me guest blog, appear at an interview like you're doing with me, people coming to me, invite me to speak at an event, or just want to get more information about my book and services. So I have gotten so much value from the investment that I've put into that as a strategy. And I did it again for my book launch. And again, it got a lot more media attention. And even, just to tell you this, Fox 25 News in Boston had seen the press release that I had done on Mother's Day and Father's Day and actually contacted me at the end of the summer to come in the next day for a live interview because AARP released a study about the looming baby boomer caregiving crisis.
Oh, boy.
And when they went to the web to find a caregiving expert in Boston, they found me. So the producer called me and asked if I could come in the next day for an interview. So I will admit that particular night I was a little bit jittery because I had never done live TV before, but it was an amazing experience and a great 4-minute interview, and I now use it on my book website as a link for people to see. That was the first vehicle for me even before the book came out, and I told the producer my book was getting published and released 3 weeks later, and she put the book cover and the information about the site to my book on the TV screen while I was doing the interview. So again, it just really works. The other thing you can do for marketing, it's really word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really about building relationships with people and coming across as the expert in your area, because again, each and every one of you that's listening has your unique vision and purpose in this world, and you are an expert in whatever you know in your life and that your gift to bring. So if you go into this, and I know many people, John, that are following you and including yourself follow this model, which is why I'm so glad we're friends today, you attract people that are very interested in what you bring to the world, and they also become your ambassadors too.
Mm-hmm.
Word of mouth marketing, connection to connection to connection is really the best marketing there is in terms of referrals. And I refer people to people that I've worked with all the time. And if I don't know something, I don't have to know it all. When it comes to caregivers, I know that I have key people in the healthcare field that I can refer them to get the expertise in that certain area that they need, and I gladly make those referrals.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah, there's nothing more gratifying or more effective than that word of mouth and putting in the actual hard work, whether it's face-to-face or online on social media. I mean, it takes time and effort. You can't just snap your fingers and have a huge following. You have to actually invest and be friends with people, and then, like you say, people talk, and that's a great strategy, you know. So, I mean, people are all about social media, but social media is like a lot of it's like one-on-one interactions, like how we met. You know, we made a friendship, then we went to Skype, we talked, and now we're good friends. So that's the old model still does work, and it still has its great place, and it's just you could be doing it online, but it's still the same. It's the one-on-one friend. Let's be buddies and let's talk and help each other and just keep doing that imagine doing that for a year. I mean, even a year, and how many people you'd have that love you and follow you and will help you with your mission. So that's powerful stuff. So, Mike, let's get back to one thing here, because I'm interested in the PR stuff. I know people are always familiar with social media more, or other types of marketing, but can I ask you some specific questions about that? Because that's, for me, I'm intrigued by that. As would you say that's the best way for someone who's got a site up, they have a product? Is that the most cost-effective way? I mean, how much did it cost? Do you feel that's the most effective way to start?
Well, I used a service and work with an individual.
And who is that?
It's Dan Janelle from PR Leads. Some people get very uncomfortable when I suggest specific people if I talk, so I'm fine with you. You seem to be okay with that, but I use prleads.com, Dan Janelle. And it's really not that expensive. His basic service starts at like $300 to do a press release, and again, it positions your expertise. And if anybody wants to learn more about Dan, I can certainly give you that information afterwards. But also, feel free to email me at michael@bloomforcoach.com. We can put my email address in the links down there too, and I'm happy to make a personal connection with Dan and make sure that Dan takes excellent care of you. Anybody that I've referred to Dan, he provides outstanding service. So, so that's great. It's really not that expensive. It's a great way to start, but I'm going to tell you for PR, I'm going to go back, since we're talking about people. Donna Kozik was my book coach, and she has a wonderful program called Write a Book in a Weekend, which I took, and Donna and I have become excellent friends. And the thing I learned from Donna is your book really becomes your big business card. This book made me 4 figures in 2 weeks, and another 4 figures in the next 2 weeks, and I'm not, believe me, I'm very thrilled with the revenue that I'm getting from the book at this point. But I'm not going to get rich off of the book. I mean, we'll be clear from that. The book is not going to make me a millionaire. The book, though, is a big business card for me to attract clients, speaking engagements, interviews. It really positions my expert status. And so a book in and of itself is an excellent marketing tool. So, I mean, we don't necessarily think of it that way, but it is. So again, and then the other thing is find other people that serve similar clients to you and see how you can be of service to them. For instance, I'm currently a guest blogger on a site called familyaffairs.com with a wonderful mediator out of Philadelphia who decided to put this site together, and she works with families on mediation when it comes to families getting divorced and others. And she wanted experts to write monthly on her blog about different things that impact families. So I'm the caregiving expert on her site. So that site provides me with backlinks, again, for more people to get to know me and find me. So again, for marketing, there's no cost to that other than your time of networking and writing articles. And I would encourage you to write every day, even if it's only 15 minutes. Just write your ideas, write about your journal, because everything that you write can become content for a book that you put together. Even write about your journey. And the other thing about journaling, because I did this, I told you after my mom passed, I had a bereavement counselor and who was wonderful, and she encouraged me to write about my experiences, and that really got my juices into writing. And I ended up writing an essay called Parent Caregiving Without Regret.
Yeah.
Before I had a book idea.
Right.
You hear a theme here?
Right, right.
Parent Caregiving Without Regret. Well, that became, Caregiving Without Regret became the subtitle of my book, but that started 6 months before I even considered writing a book. So all because I was writing in the state of grief. So again, write about your experiences, even if you're feeling sad and down because maybe you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish fast enough. Write about it. It will be a great vehicle for you in the future, as well as take care of you in the present.
Right. It's a great tip. Great tip. So, what are some of your favorite online resources that you use to manage your business?
Sure. Well, some of the common ones I know some of your other guests have shared. I use Aweber for my email service. I love Aweber. I love their customer service. I could probably do a commercial for them because I love them so much. And anytime I have some issues, I know I can call and speak to a real person, which is a breath of fresh air in the 21st century when you could talk to a real person.
A human.
Right. And again, build a relationship with somebody. I use Lead Pages as well. I love Lead Pages. I'm so grateful that Clay Collins has put that forth. It's such an easy way to create all kinds of pages to magnetize people to your business. So Lead Pages is definitely front and center. I use WordPress for my website. I actually use WordPress for my main business website, but I developed my book website on Weebly. Just to try it out, and I actually really like Weebly as well. It's so easy to use. Are you familiar with Weebly?
I'm not. Nope.
So for people...
Oh. Uh-oh, looks like Michael might have cut out there. Yeah. Hold on just a second, everybody. So Michael was fortunate enough to talk to us a little bit about some of his resources and his story today. Let's see if we can get him on there. His audio looks like it cut out there, so anyway, give us just a second here. So far we've had a really nice interview with Michael, and he's told us quite a bit of information about, what to do to start a coaching business and what to do as far as finding your niche, finding your passion, finding your why. Let's see if we can get him on here again in a second. The wonders of technology, especially the wonders of a Hangout. So, you just never know.
Can you hear me now, John?
Oh, there he is. There's our guy. Yep. I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, you there?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. It's just like a commercial, right?
Awesome.
It's like a Verizon commercial here.
I am here.
So you were telling us, it's like Verizon. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So you were telling us a little bit about Weebly.
As long as you can hear me now, that's great.
Can you hear me still?
Yeah. So Weebly,
okay.
I can hear you fine. I'm hoping you can hear me. But of course, with any technology, we can. Hangouts is not. Another thing too. I'll get into Weebly, but just for those of you who are just experimenting with Hangouts or get into it, do it. But just like any technology, it's glitchy at times. It has things, but you know what? We're all here and we're having fun, and we came. So I'm back. But Weebly. Let's get into Weebly. Weebly is
there's a free version of Weebly, and the thing I like about Weebly is it's very easy with drop and drag to create a website that looks nice. So, and you don't have to know too much about plugins and all these other things that are with WordPress. So you can actually get started and use a Weebly site. And like I said, my book site, which is the Accidental Caregivers Survival Guide.com, is a free Weebly site that I created, and I actually put that together in a day. And I modify it. I've enhanced it because when I first put it together, it was just a preview site, and then I've added some pages. And there's a Get the Book tab there page as well, which I created, and with links to go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Nook, or the Apple Store, because people can buy my book through each of those forums. But I totally did that website myself, and it was very easy to do.
So Weebly is like a drag and drop platform for websites.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Cool.
Yeah.
What kind of books would you recommend? Give us a few titles there. A lot of us are entrepreneurs love to read, so tell us a few.
Sure, I will. Well, first, as I mentioned before, I cannot more highly recommend Bye Bye Boring Bio by Nancy Juetten. And Nancy has been such an amazing mentor for me. I'm so glad that I had the privilege of working with her. The other thing the book does is not just help you write bios, but it actually helps you think about, what if you had a reporter call you? Like I had the Fox 25 News in Boston call me that night, that late afternoon, and asking me to be into their program at 8 a.m. the next morning. Well, one of the things I had from working with Nancy is I already have a pre-prepared speaker sheet that, with my bio, questions that an interviewer can consider, and my headshot. So anytime anybody asked me for something, I could zip them an email immediately after the request with the information, and all of that information and knowledge came from Bye Bye Boring Bio. So that's one book. The other book that I would recommend, I actually brought a few here, is Content Rules. This is by Ann Hanley and Cece Chapman. It came out about, I think, a year or so ago, and it talks about how to create killer blogs, podcasts, videos, ebooks, and webinars, and more. And as you can see, I have little sticky notes here because there are some nuggets I'd like to kind of focus on here and there. So this has been a helpful resource for me to look at. I don't implement everything that is suggested, but again, it's really, when it comes to social media or blogging or all of these different platforms, it's important for you to choose one or two things to start with that you feel that you could do and would enjoy doing, and start doing it. And then you can move into some of the other areas. So cherry pick what you think you would enjoy first that's going to get you in action, and take it.
Right.
And then another book that I would highly recommend, and want to give a shout out to my fellow coaches from the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, is Energy Leadership. This is the core of my coach training program. I'm actually an energy leadership master practitioner, and this book and the whole coaching process behind it actually helped me transform my life so that it gave me the gateway to seeking balance and creating a life for myself while I was in the midst of caregiving for my mom. So it was so helpful. So this is a book that can be really, personally transformational. And so those are some of my go-to books that I would definitely share.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and we have links to those down below this page if anyone's interested in looking at those books and seeing if they're a good fit for you. I haven't read those books yet. I've read a lot of books. I have too many books on my plate, but I'll definitely link those up and check those out when the time comes. So thanks for sharing those. One last question, Michael, for a couple minutes, and then we're going to have to wrap things up, is what would you do different if you could start all over again? What would you do different in your business if you could start over, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think the thing that I would do different is the only thing I would do different is maybe start to outsource some activities a little sooner, so I could really focus on the big picture. And I know a lot of people say that, and it's really true. But other than that, everything that I haven't outsourced, I've liked learning how to do it. I really, if anybody told me 2 years ago I'd be a techie, I never would have believed them, because I'm a health and human services, administrator who really a few years ago was just checking my email and hopping on the internet for fun, responding to email. Now I can do all kinds of things. So again, I'm not sure. I don't have regrets with anything that I've done. But if there are certain things that you absolutely don't want to do or don't want to focus on learning, and it's painful for you, find an expert who can help you. There's plenty of people out there.
Right. Absolutely. You don't have to do it all yourself. I think we all get stuck there. And I
We
don't know
do.
how to create an ebook, or I don't know how to use this sort of service. YouTube is a wonderful resource. You can learn a lot, but outsource stuff that you hate. I mean, outsource stuff that you don't want to build or do, or you can just do that. And it's very inexpensive these days to do. So
It truly is.
that's a big fact there. Don't get hung up on that. So, Michael, thank you, man. I appreciate your time. Tell us a little bit about where we can find out more about you and your services. And I think you said you had some kind of an offer that you wanted to share.
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. If people want to learn more about me, just come to my main website at www.bloomforcoach.com, which is on my banner here on the image. And I do have a special offer. I love meeting new people and engaging. And, like John, we've spoken, a few times. It's just been really great. And you are magnetizing some amazing healthcare professionals and budding entrepreneurs that really want to bring their message and their passion to the world. So I have created a Bloom Your Biz strategy session, and I'm willing to offer the first 3 people that send me an email at Michael, Michael, at bloomforcoach.com, an email with free session in the subject line. The first 3 people to send me an email, I will set up a 30-minute session that we could do via phone, Skype, or Hangout, so we could talk about what brings you passion and how you want to bring your business to a greater service to the world and make a living from it.
Right.
Because that's not always something we could do, and I'm happy to say I'm in the process of doing that now, and I want to help others do the same.
Yeah. Right. Well, I hope I'm eligible for it. I'd love to get in that. I'll shoot you an email. And, that sounds great. So it's wonderful that you're willing to share so much knowledge for free. And I think that's a theme that you exude, is that you give a lot. And that's a key takeaway for anybody who's starting something new, is just give a lot. It takes work. Sure, you want to make money. Sure, you want to make a business out of it. But if we're in a hurry to sell people stuff before they know, like, and trust us, we're not going to have a whole lot of success. We got to pump out the free content. We got to share. We got to give. Our heart has to be in giving, not in selling or in business. And so Michael has been a perfect example of that. He's giving. He gave away free stuff, free newsletters before he launched his book. So before he turned on the engine, he had a list of people ready to rock, ready to go with him, who loved him, who trust him. So that's just a valuable lesson that we've learned today. So thank you, Michael, for sharing that. I appreciate all your time today. So some great lessons on the show today. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was a lot of resources, a lot of kind of content to paint the picture, rather, of how you can start a coaching service or a product service or any kind of business and magnetize people to you before you turn on the engine. I hope you guys got that lesson and found that valuable. That's it for our show tonight. Our next show is, November 18th already. November 18th. Wow, this month is just, where's this month going? All of a sudden it's going to be Thanksgiving. But next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, we have another great interview with another successful entrepreneur who's in the health field, who's doing big things, who's going to share his business tips and how he's marketing, how the struggles he went through, all the good stuff that we all love to hear about from people who are doing big things. So we're excited about our next show. I'll send out an email for all those on my list, and we'll be sharing in the Facebook groups and everything for that interview. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Monday, and I will see you next week.